This is Annuity Straight Talk. Since 2008, your host, Bryan Anderson, has helped clients nationwide navigate the complex market for annuities. With Bryan's assistance, hundreds of clients have achieved a profitable and secure retirement. I would know, because Bryan has answered many of my questions concerning annuities and retirement planning. So that you can benefit as well, let's get started. Here's Bryan.
Hello and welcome to the Annuity Straight Talk podcast, episode number 87. My name is Bryan Anderson, founder and creator of all things Annuity Straight Talk.com. Started in 2008. We're going on 15 years of this website, 20 years in the business. Got answers to all of your questions. Taking a break from our regularly scheduled programming of annuities and retirement planning, market analysis when we have a good guest. I've actually got a really cool guest coming up for you in the next couple of weeks. I'm very excited about it. I hope you guys will be as well. It's honestly something that's like a lot of people ask me, hey, what advice would you give my kids? And this guy that's coming on is kind of like more of a, I don't know. He's a sharp guy. He's got a big following. He does a lot of really good stuff on social media and all those things. And it's more geared for accumulation of assets and trying to really kill it in the accumulation phase. So I thought it'd be a good diversion. Anyway, we'll get into that later. But for the purposes of this one, I'm talking about something that is becoming a bigger and bigger deal. I've thought about doing this for a while, and it seems like almost every day I see an article about it. And so I decided finally, it's like, just cut it and do it now. And as I was writing this, I worked on it for a couple of days in pieces and parts, and every day something new. But we're talking about artificial intelligence in financial services, convenience or threat, maybe a little of both. So I've got a newsletter written. I just finished it. Perfect timing for lighting because the sun came out. It's been a little rainy, and I really like it. Before we get started, I want to remind everyone to like, subscribe, or comment on the podcast. You can use your favorite podcast platforms. You can send me a message via email if you're on my email list. Or you can comment, subscribe, thumbs up on YouTube as well. So there's videos, there's listen to it, you can watch it. No visual aid if you like to kind of look me in the eye or see what I'm all about. And my little spot here in Montana, that's fine as well. But I don't know if it's on everyone else's minds. It's just kind of floating around in the news, but artificial intelligence is here whether you like it or not. Once you realize that it could become a problem, then it's probably already too late. Whatever we have at our disposal as consumers is probably just the tip of the iceberg relative to what the tech companies, government agencies around the world have at their disposal. Now, I'm going to be careful to not dive into rabbit holes here. I'm going to talk about the things I do know, things I suspect, and what makes sense to me. But it's probably going to get out of control, and why not? It's been the subject of several sci-fi movies in the past. It's funny what you'd look at in the 80s or 90s and say, oh, wow, that's crazy. But it's actually happening right now. A lot of leaders in the tech industry have urged, Elon Musk being one of them, hey, slow this thing down. We don't really know what kind of power it's going to have. That doesn't mean they're stopping. They're probably just being quiet about what they do. So most people are familiar with the earliest form of AI that I know of. There's other ones. Actually, this is an interesting story about the beginning of AnnuityStraightTalk.com. You guys all know that I created a substantial amount of content. I did a lot of writing to start this website because I had to get information on it somewhere, and it didn't exist elsewhere. It was in, books and magazines, and I kind of had to repurpose it. I had to learn a lot of things, and so I could write everything in my own words. And at the very beginning, one of the ways that was popular in some places it was called article spinning. So I could write a 1,000-word article, and then you could give it to this computer program, and there was articles. It would spin the article, and it'd give you, say, 100 versions of it. So if you could get 100 versions of your article out there, then obviously you're going to get more traffic. You're going to dominate that keyword when people search for it, right? But even the second version of that letter came up with really weird synonyms and all that stuff. And it was garbage, total garbage. Okay. Anyway, so was that AI, or I don't really even know if that qualifies, but it was kind of weird. Never used it, played with it a little bit. I'm like, that is total junk. So But the earliest form I can think of that everybody might be familiar with is Siri. Anybody use that? Female voice on smartphones, can answer any question, give you directions to any address. They've got Siri devices for homes, ready for service at any point in time. It can turn your heat on, turn the lights on. Hey Siri, we got some friends coming over and need a great appetizer or cocktail recipe. Got anything? Boom, right away. Or you got a song stuck in your head, you want to dance with your wife. Hey, play that song we love. Boom, it's there, okay? Just ask Siri, you'll have it right away. That's kind of the one that's been around for a long time. I honestly, I've got it on my phone. I hate the voice. I turn it off all the time because, anyway, that's just me. But you can walk through an airport or just through a cafe and you can hear people like talking to Siri all the time. So several major tech companies are using AI to automate business to improve efficiency and cut costs. Computers and robots don't need income, health insurance, or workman's comp. So cutting jobs is going to save those companies a lot of money. I don't believe, and it stands to reason that that's not going to be very good for employment and only further reinforces kind of my idea again, trying to stay shy of the rabbit hole, but some of the wealthiest people in the world run those companies, those big companies, and if the average employee is kind of out of luck there, well, that's just another way that some of the wealthiest companies are going to be able to aggregate more wealth. So convenience comes at a cost. And this one, to be honest with you, looks to be about the most expensive one for the average individual. Now, a lot of you guys are close to retirement, in retirement. Okay for you, but you need to keep an eye on what it means. Okay. This brings me to my point about financial services. For a long time now, and I don't know how many years, large brokerage companies have been using what's called a Robo Advisor. You answer a long series of questions. It's going to design and manage a portfolio for you. You don't have to talk to a person. You don't have to pay management fees. It's all automated, objective, and efficient with little to no subjective human intervention. It comes back to whoever designed the software and created the algorithm, so someone's opinion is behind it. Someone actually has to program it to say, do this, do that, right? So if a large management firm gives you a computerized set of instructions for portfolio management, you'll likely end up with a mix of investments that leans toward what's best for the company. Not to pick on anyone specifically, but if Edward Jones has a robo-advisor, then it is likely to recommend Edward Jones-sponsored mutual funds, ETFs, and bonds. Makes sense to me. How about you guys? Okay, so I've established myself as a bit of a contrarian in the industry. I share my thoughts on that a lot. That's why I have to provide extra justification and explanation for the strategies I recommend, the products I recommend, and all that. I think that automated process leaves something to be desired for most retirees. Now, I've seen robo-advisor plans and they'll, automatically rebalance. It's a piece of cake. Stocks and bonds. And there's a lot of shortfalls and there's a lot of personal preference that goes into that as well. But if that's kind of replaced a lot of the investment managers, then I have to think that my job is possibly in jeopardy as well. As brokerage firms more and more are warming up to the idea of using annuities, insurance companies may well go along with it just to gain a larger market share. In every business, financial services included, cost cutting is a popular thing in the modern world. I would not be surprised if one day they try to replace agents with computers. I mean, it's already happened in a lot of ways. Investment industry, property and casualty insurance. You don't even have to talk to anybody. You can go online and get a car insurance policy, right? It already kind of works that way. Like, given the recommendations that seem to be the most popular, and I've talked to you guys a lot about how I find annuity recommendations. I ask a few people if we're really serious and getting to the end of something. I'll ask the opinion of a few people. If I call one company, the one company is going to tell me, hey, this is the product I like, or this is the product that works. If I say, okay, these guys are 61, they're retired in 2 years, and they need guaranteed income, they're going to say, well, this is the product we have. This is the best. You should do this. And I've already told you that's not the way to find the best. You got to go to an objective source like databases that I subscribe to verify whether that truly is the best. So what's going to happen if you get this automated system where they're recommending annuities, then you're going to have, let's say you're with Schwab, and Schwab has their annuities are the annuities that they bring into their management portfolio on an automated system. Say it's like New York Life and MetLife. Okay. Well, I've already showed you guys in dozens of examples why New York Life and MetLife, great companies, are not always going to be the best thing at the right time, but you're going to be limited to what the partnership with those two companies have. So you're not going to be able to shop the entire market, and it's going to take a huge move in order to really do that. And I'm not saying that's not possible, but it's not going to be the first step. That's for sure. Right now, they're letting guys like me participate, but that may not always be the case. So take a side note here and to remind you the difference between the suitability and fiduciary standards. The suitability standard means finding a solution that is suitable for a client in regards to the unique variables of each person. And this is the broadest range of options you'll find. Yeah, this is okay, it's suitable, go ahead. So an annuity might be suitable, and real estate might be suitable, and bonds might be suitable, but what is the best? That's suitability. The fiduciary standard is finding a solution that is in the best interest of the client. Whether it's between an annuity, bonds, and real estate, you're going to have to take some subjective variables into account. It produces a very specific and limited option with greater overall benefit because it's in your best interests. Will artificial intelligence be able to come to a conclusion that fits this fiduciary standard? I do not think it's all that possible without human interaction. That's my opinion. Okay, I bring up this topic because we played with it on my website. We're always trying to create content, and somebody threw the idea, hey, you should use AI. We can create long form content in seconds, meaning 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 words, as opposed to me spending, several hours developing an idea. It's not the same for you guys. Number one, because it's not going to read the same. Number two, it's not my voice, and there's not someone that you can call out that's at the end of it. So if you have a question about what I write, you can ask me and I'll explain it to you. Or you may uncover something that I left out, and I'd be happy to include it or offer a correction. So not the same for you, but the search engine algorithms are fine with it. This is going to result in like what you're able to see on the internet. If you don't think the big companies are already controlling what you see, then you're wrong. Because they are. They pick and choose what they think is the answer to your question. That's why things like this podcast and independent publishing are very, very important, because I can speak in my voice, I can give you my explanation, and you can decide whether that works for you. The one that we used, and one of the most popular ones, is ChatGPT, and I think there's a lot of people out there using it to create content. You're already likely getting opposing information and recommendations based on content generated by artificial intelligence. It's just the way it is. Sorry, again, like I said, once you realize it, it's too late. It's going to become more and more ubiquitous as time goes by, and definitely sooner rather than later. And you have to decide whether that's what you want. Okay, who do you want to work with? Who do you want to listen to? Do you want a computer programmer who writes a program that has a robot answering your question? So I don't know. The interesting thing, the creepiest thing I've seen so far is we had an AI program recreate my voice. So for anyone who doesn't know, there's some who do. Jeremy is the guy. He's my buddy who does all the marketing and advertising for Annuity, Talk.Com. He's the one guy that works with me. I have a couple other guys that contract on web development stuff, so no offense to them, but he's been around for a while. And anyway, he's the reason most of you guys found me. We spent a lot of time creating content based on your questions, the feedback I get and the case studies that people ask me to design, or the ones that I see that they bring to me from other advisors. So he went to the AI system he was playing with and gave the system a command to listen to a few seconds of one of my podcasts and then create an audio recording of my voice reading a portion of one of my newsletters. So he said, hey, listen to this voice for, I don't know what it was, 3-5 seconds. And then here's a paragraph, and we want you to make an audio file of that. And almost instantly it came back with an audio clip about a minute and a half long. It sounded like my voice reading what I wrote with about a 90% match that was barely different from my real voice. The voice was the same. The inflections were a little bit different. It sounded like I was kind of disinterested, just reading the letter and not really trying to put too much into it, that kind of thing. So, but I listened to it and I thought, whoa, that's insane. So makes me a little bit nervous since my voice is out there. And I'll just take the time right now to say, if you ever get a phone call saying me asking you for something insanely crazy, it's not me. I'm telling you right now. I read saw another clip, somebody reporting that fraudsters have gotten AI. If you have videos or any audio files out there, one guy said that his grandparents were called and it was in his voice saying, I was in a car wreck and I really need money right now. Can you wire it to this spot? Fortunately, someone who could verify him independently was there. Anyway, so that's another thing you got to be concerned about. So I put myself out there. This is something you need to know before you do anything, and make sure that you understand the threat of that as well. But in that instance, it was kind of spooky to me to have my voice matched so quickly, so easily, and a little bit more training for the system, and no one would have a clue or be able to tell the difference. I don't like the idea of a computer having any control over the content I post or the recommendations I make. Today, I'm making a promise to everyone here that comes to Annuity Straight Talk. It will always remain a purely authentic product of my own creation. If one day that makes me outdated and uncompetitive in comparison to computer-generated advisors, then so be it. If you get in before that happens, then you'll always have me in your corner. If you think that's far-fetched, then consider that I've heard from several people that have a handful of hometown banks and credit unions who have converted to fully automated tellers. No human interaction in the bank anymore. I said a little bit about this before. I have a strong suspicion, bordering on confirmation, that there are some of my competitors in this market that use artificial intelligence to create content very quickly. It's not their own thoughts or years of work. Rather, it's a computer taking a series of commands and finishing the job in a few seconds. That my website has been a work in progress for nearly 15 years. Every single word that's on there is something that I typed, but it could be copied, repurposed, reworded by artificial intelligence in a flash. And I will fight like hell, keep ownership of what's mine, and you need to understand if that works for your benefit as well. So if you'd rather work with a robot, then leave now and go get your information elsewhere. It's not going to be that hard to find because it's all over the place. For anyone else who is okay with the human brain and a beating heart, I intend to make sure this is the last place that's going to fall. So thank you so much. I don't want to scare anybody. You just have to understand it so you can navigate it and figure out where you want it, where you don't. And it's not going to be here. If you appreciate the convenience of artificial intelligence, oh, this is so easy, by all means, go for it. I got a lot of heat and continue to over the years for saying I just never will do business with someone I can't sit down with face to face. That's fine. Those same people are going to have a really hard time dealing with a computer. So it's not to scare you. It's just to inform you and say, listen, you got to know what's out there and figure out how you want to deal with it, and find the places where, if you don't want to deal with it, find the places that it's not going to exist. And Annuity Straight Talk is one of those places. Anyway, this has been episode 87, Artificial Intelligence in Financial Services. Convenience or threat? I think it's a little bit of both. And you, like I said, pick and choose what you want to use. Anyhow, thank you so much for joining me. I would appreciate it if you subscribe to your favorite podcast platform or the YouTube channel. Give it a thumbs up. Comment if you can. Tell your friends about it. Share it. That's another way we're going to defeat the computer system, is to make this as popular as possible. A lot of people like it and a lot of people can use it. So anyway, I really appreciate the opportunity for the continued communication with you guys. Bring me your case studies, bring me your ideas and your questions, and I would be happy to make them the subject of a future podcast. Anyway, I'm looking forward to a couple of good guests in the next couple of weeks. I'm not quite sure what the next topic is going to be, but I will be back to you next week with episode 88. All right, guys, thank you so much and have a great day. Bye.
You have been listening to Annuity Straight Talk. The preceding information is for informational and educational purposes only and does not represent tax, legal, or investment advice. The views expressed by guests on this program are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Annuity Straight Talk or its partners. No information presented today should be acted upon without meeting with a qualified and licensed professional. It is important that you read all insurance contract disclosures carefully before making a purchase decision. guarantees are based on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the insurance company.